Hi Homeworthy, my name is Pierce Jordan. Welcome to my home in Dallas, Texas. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Pierce Jordan. I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm a residential builder and interior designer. Welcome to my home. I built this house in 2024. It took me about 14 months to build. Designed it from the ground up. I took a lot of inspiration from Europe. I travel there often throughout the years, and I wanted to bring an authentic feeling to Dallas and something that doesn't feel brand new, like when you walk in. So when you see the house, you'll see a lot of antique elements, but modernizing it, making it fresh, and creating spaces that have reason and creating a cozy environment for when I come home, it's relaxing. So for the last 10 years, I've been building houses, and they're spec houses. So I've had to play it safe. So for me, I wanted to explore color. I wanted to create some drama. I wanted to explore design that I haven't been able to in my career. Doing it for my personal house, I was allowed to bring in dramatic colors, bring in some personality. So I'm really drawn to Italy, especially Tuscany, and traveling there, seeing the hotels, the vibes they create. There's just a sense of peace, very design driven, very unique. There's a lot of items in the home that are one of a kind. Again, it's back to color. I'm sitting on a pink sofa. It's not normally something a lot of people would gravitate towards. Picking out marbles and stone throughout the house that are bold, that are dramatic, but then you'll see, there's a way you can play off of it through the whole home that doesn't make it overly dramatic. If it's done right, you can blend and, make it feel at ease. So here we are in my foyer. Wanted to blend some of the new with the old, starting with the marble floors, antique and honed. Plaster walls, wanted to create a warming environment when you enter the home because some of the rooms off of this is dramatic. So it's kind of looking around the corner, wanting you to see what's next. Here we have a piece made by Ben Medansky in LA, kind of the new form of art for my house. Ceramic, beautiful piece. Embodies a lot of the colors that we're gonna mix throughout. So yeah, here we have the staircase. Wanted to create a plaster, very clean look. Subdue it a bit, but still, it's in your face when you walk in the door. And next we're gonna go to one of my favorite rooms, is the parlor in my house, which is right off the foyer. Again, we're going into more of a dramatic room, play on color. It's like a deep red, dark maroon plaster. Added some paneling throughout to kind of create some character, mixing new chairs, an old coffee table, as well as a 1950s sofa. It's a really nice spot to have a glass of wine at night with friends. Creates a really cozy environment, and I also use it as a welcoming sitting area when I have people over. One thing I wanted to point out is the fireplace over here. Very simple modern plaster mixed with an old antique tapestry. The tapestry my grandmother got in the 1970s. So it's an heirloom piece that I adore, and it was amazing that I was able to fit this in the house. These are two chairs that are from Lawson Finning in LA. Custom fabric. It was fun to do a two-tone, kind of bring in some pattern play, mixed with pink sofa, a 1950s vintage sofa that I had recovered. So this is a fun little camel stool that was found at a vintage shop in Palm Springs. Very fun little find. This is a coffee table, antique made out of stone, kind of a brutalist concept that is from a very cool store in Nashville called Innaby Home. So off the parlor, I wanted to show you something fun, which is a kind of a hidden bathroom. It's a way to keep it clean in here, but obviously, everyone needs a powder bath. So here, building the panel over the door, really a great way to hide it, along with the Venetian plaster. There's no, trim around it, so it really does hide. So here in my powder, I have, a beautiful red travertine stone. Again, we're continuing the deep red plaster, bringing in the antique brass elements in the faucet. Vintage mirror from the 1920s, kind of Art Deco, super fun. Something I wanted to point out, which is pretty unique, I do have a shower in here. A fun way to do a door was to do a pivot, steel door with some ribbed glass. Pretty cool. Paint the same color as the walls, kind of, when you close it, keep it hidden. These sconces I found from Urban Electric. Beautiful antique brass finish. I love the tubular mixed with, the harsh lines on the mirror. Again, we have the kind of a handmade brass fixture, also from Morocco, similar to my bar. Love the patina look. It has, kind of intricate details like someone, hand sketched in it. And next we are going to step across the foyer into the formal dining room. So this would be my formal dining room. This room probably embodies the house the best, mixing old with new. One of the first things you notice when you walk in is the wallpaper made by Joshua Green. Mixing it with super modern lighting, bringing in the old, the new. Behind you have a beautiful antique fireplace mantle from the 1700s. I had the table and chairs custom made by a local artist here in Dallas, mixing some vintage old planters and ferns. Kind of creates a vibe in this room. On the ceiling you have the same color from the parlor, so it's a way to connect the two rooms, but still they each have their own identity. So if you look at the chandelier here, there's a rust finish on the top with a really pretty bronze underneath that really creates a glow. It was custom made by Atelier in London. Over here we have sconces from Stahl & Bond. They're called the moon sconces, which are made in Paris. I love the modern mixed against the wallpaper. It really creates a very unique feel. Above my mantle, you have a beautiful piece of art that was commissioned by Huey Hofmaster. Really, really unique piece to bring in a play and have fun, keeping it moody. Really important things of this house that I wanted to accomplish was that each space was unique, but I also wanted each room to be able to connect. So one way to do this was the plaster ceiling is the same colors of plaster walls in here. I have fabrics in both rooms. Connecting it in small ways really helps, you move from one room to the other and they all feel connected. So I would love to show you my kitchen, but before that, in between the kitchen and the dining, I have a kind of a secret bar, a little kind of prep kitchen. It's kind of an extension of the dining room in terms of colors, still bringing in the Moody reds. I have a lot of heirloom and like crystal from my mom, my grandmother that I really want to incorporate and that I actually use day to day. So here we have a crystal that has been handed down, from generations that I really appreciate and actually use. I have a little vintage painting I found, little store here in Dallas. I have these fun little Frenchy napkins that were made because I have a French bulldog. Throughout the house we have unlacquered brass fixtures, and here I have a hammered unlacquered brass sink. It's actually from a company in Morocco, which is very cool, kind of having a vintage feel, which obviously ages over time, which really creates, a unique and antique feel, which gives extra character in your home. So here's kind of an extension of the bar. I keep extra china, old silverware that I use for dinner parties. I am able to cook back here, so I don't have to always be in the kitchen if I want to keep the kitchen clean, which is super nice. Here is an art piece, also from a store out of Nashville, but they had a boutique in Round Top, which is a great place to go find art. So entertaining for me would be 5 or 6 friends at my dining table, me cooking. It's casual, but I still like to have a little bit of a chic element. I do love crystal heirlooms for my mom and for my grandmother that I love to incorporate, like the candles, but of course keep it casual, fun, have some good music, wine. I built this home so people can enjoy it and I don't want to be the stuffy, but I obviously still keep it a little bit chic. So welcome to my kitchen, which is one of the places I'm in the most. I wanted to show you the inspiration of the house, the colors. I bought this slab a year before I began construction on the house. I actually found it on a trip in Italy and had it brought over. I love the reds, the greens, the antique background, kind of the whole reason the house is the colors that it is. So I wanted to keep this kitchen casual, and I wanted it to feel more like furniture rather than kitchen. So you notice I have no uppers, all windows. I wanted to create a really nice reveal around each drawer because it looks like a chest of drawers instead of a kitchen cabinet. If you notice the island, I put the bar stools on the side. I didn't want to see them from the back, which is normally what you see. And if you come to see the front side of the island, it does look like just an oversized piece of furniture. So one thing I love to do in design is to use the stone that's on the countertops and integrate it in the sink. It creates just a seamless element, and it's a great way to use extra slab that you have. Going back to wanting the kitchen to feel more like furniture, bringing in these vintage lamps is a fun way to kind of add some character to your kitchen. Again, another heirloom from my grandmother, finding some cool vintage pieces, some handmade pottery from a lady in LA, styling it that's casual, but still you're able to achieve a pretty chic feeling kitchen, and it's unique. So, I love to cook, and so throughout the years I kind of learned my favorite way to lay out a kitchen. I like to have my sink directly across the range so I can go from one to the other. I do still believe the triangle rule, keeping my spices in the drawer next to it. I know a lot of people are scared not to have upper cabinetry, but actually, having all drawers next to you, it's easier to access things. In between the kitchen and the family room, I have a fun vintage table from Nikki Kehoe in LA. I have these stools that if someone's wanting to eat, near the living room but doesn't want to sit on the couch, it's just a casual way to sit down at a table. So next we have my family room. One of my favorite pieces that I have ever bought is a 1700s wallpaper that has been framed, which is here on the wall. I had to make sure it would fit in this house and design kind of this room around it. It's a French artist that was actually, this piece was found at a bank in the Cayman Islands, which is kind of random, but found it at a local antique store in Dallas, and it's a part of also the colors and the tones that set the house, because I had this piece before. So here I kind of brought in, the deep purple aubergine color for my sofa. Again, it kind of matches with the front of my house, bringing that element to the rear. Here we have a travertine coffee table by Form LA, which is very fun to have kind of the scalloped edges. Here we have an onyx side table, which is very fun, has a slight green color to it. This is a really fun chair. I love the fabric. It kind of has like a woven, intricate piece, which is pretty unique. I wanted to design a fireplace that kind of had a Parisian inspiration. I use actually cast stone. It was, I designed it on paper. We put it in cast stone and it was made, and it has a nice kind of antique feel, even though it's, new. And so it's a good way to kind of bring in an earth feeling in this room. So I have, a kind of beige off-white wool rug. Wanted something durable. Pairing it with a darker sofa kind of allowed it to stand out in the room. Otherwise, creating pretty simple colors, I really wanted that sofa to shine, and then, it still connects it to the front of the house. I brought in some pillows from one of my favorite textile called Kufri, and they're based in Dallas, and she does amazing handmade textiles, pillows, bedding, really, really unique brand. Another thing that I love in this room is this kind of geometric lamp, which is, kind of bold, but it kind of creates, it's a moment as well, almost looking like a sculpture. So in the back of my living room, I have 3 French doors that are arched, and it's a way, to let in a lot of light, but it creates, a good visual when you're in the living room. The arches also mimic, throughout the house, they're barrel ceilings. The staircase has an arch to it. So it's, slowly incorporating small details that connect throughout the house. I actually started in finance, figured out that wasn't my route. In 2014, I bought a couple of lots in Dallas, learned how to general contract. One thing led to another, became a snowball. Through that process, I learned a lot about design, fell in love with it. So it's really, over the years, I've just learned as I've gone, taught myself, and design has become, my passion. Building is my career, but design is really, what I'm here for. Other than, my main career of being a builder, last year I also started a design company with my friend and business partner Evan Crinzian. Shane and Pierce is the design firm, and we do client work as well. So it's been fun to explore, more of our taste and blending the modern and the old, because he's from California. I'm originally from Mississippi. So we kind of had two different backgrounds. I grew up in, the Old South. He grew up in modern, a modern home in LA. So it's been fun, and clients are, find it interesting that we have kind of these two plays together. So here we are in my breakfast room. The idea behind this was to create a conservatory feeling. I have a lot of plants in the corner, kind of, it's the inspiration for the green. You have the cloud toil wallpaper, really creating kind of a summer outdoor kind of vibe. So here on the floor, you have an Arto cement tile, it brings in the conservatory feeling. On this, the chandelier I sourced from a little gallery in Tuscany, which was fun. I had that shipped back. I custom made this bench, kind of making it, feel outdoorsy. This room could feel like it's, on a patio instead of inside your house. Here I have a table from Lula in Georgia. It's actually an outdoor table paired with some vintage 1950s chairs with a fun black striped fabric. So the couch is from the Jake Arnold Crepe Barrel line, which I thought the color was really nice, relaxing, earth tones. I found the mirror at Round Top on a sourcing trip, which is where I got a lot of my art. Along with the chandelier from Italy, I also found this mirror at the same shop, which is fun. It has like old candlesticks on it. One of the key elements, I think, to make a house feel a little bit antique and used and not new would be to use real materials, real marble, real stone. Not everything has to be perfect, whether it's tumbled or honed. I really believe in using real materials and not, man-made. So I believe that that really helps drive character and, gets a sense of almost like the home has been there for a while, and not to worry about the imperfections. So now we're gonna go outside, which is directly off my living room, and I'll show you the pool. So this is the outside on the back of my home. Wanted to kind of show you some of the European elements I wanted to bring to the exterior of the house. Brick, I did kind of an antique schmear. Also, combining it with, it's called antique cast stone. It's a finish around each part of the window. And again, here you see the French doors, which, is the arch that kind of embodies throughout the whole house. Also adding the gas lanterns on each side kind of creates a sexy moment. So here on the floor, on the patio, I did a cobblestone inlay, which was reclaimed also from Europe. It was a fun pattern play, new stone, Pennsylvania bluestone on the with, wrapping around each one with the reclaimed cobblestone. So, a way to kind of soften the exterior of the house is to add vines. So actually around the whole house, I have vines that will eventually just keep growing. And it's a way to kind of make the house feel like it's been here for a long time. I wanted to have fun with the pool. I found really pretty porcelain tiles. And so we created a stripe. It's kind of a off orangey amber color with an off-white, and it's kind of an inspiration of what you would see at a boutique hotel. So kind of that was, I wanted this to feel like you could be at a small, getaway somewhere. So this is going to be my office. Really wanted a really soothing green. It's actually the same green that I use on the ceiling in my breakfast room. So I found this beautiful desk online from Forum in New York, put a kind of black soapstone on top, it's a great serene space for me to do some work. I wanted to keep it simple, casual, and keep it me. So this is a big chest from Crate and Barrel, also on the Jake Arnold line, which I thought was a fantastic design. The art pieces I found in Round Top. Up here are some fun urns that also were sourced in Round Top. So on the floor, the rug I chose was kind of a woven brown texture, very earthy. So here, two green chairs that I wanted to, connect with the wall color. It's also from Crate and Barrel, Jake Arnold line, which I think they are a very cool design. A lot of my rooms are color drenched and they're all the same color. I believe do things what you love and not worry about if it's a trend or if it's out of trend, because it's always going to be changing. Source things over time. It's important to, not follow what other people are doing, have fun with it. Next up, we're going to go to one of my guest bedrooms, which is going to be connected by a Jack and Jill bathroom. So in the Jack and Jill, I do have a fun way to do a shower wall, which is by Taladec. It's, a plaster but waterproof. It kind of creates like a spa environment with a really fun tile on the floor for Zia. A good way to also use stone is to wrap, doorways. So here I wanted a built-in cabinetry. I have a clothes hamper at the bottom, lots of built-in shelves. Hide your towels, everything, kind of put it away. I like to keep things tidy and clean and not, pretty organized. So here in the Jack and Jill, we have an ocean travertine on the countertop. Water fixture is by Waterworks, which is one of my favorite brands. It's unlacquered brass, which ages over time. These are super fun sconces that kind of look like cups in a way, and they're from Guard, which is a great source for lighting. The mirror here has kind of like a woven texture, and it's by Amber Interiors. This is going to be one of my guest bedrooms. I kind of want to have a play on a children's room, but make it an adult. Hence the twin beds we have here. We have a super fun wallpaper. It's a New Orleans scene. I grew up going there, originally from Mississippi. It was kind of a weekend spot for us. A super fun play on, scenes throughout New Orleans. A good way to kind of make wallpaper stand out is to, create a dark trim, and it's actually just a darker green. So it's connecting the office green, but making it a shade darker so you have kind of framing out the wallpaper in the room. So a fun way to kind of play on texture with beds, I actually did two different bedding, but they, mix. Here we have bedding from Cultivar, which is one of my favorite kind of relaxed brands. Right here are a sconce I had made from a friend. He does kind of design and makes furniture as well. Very fun, kind of, fun and playful. On this bed, it's kind of just a different color texture, but they still intertwine by Cultivar. So the duvet is actually from Pottery Barn. It's kind of like a light green, which is again playing off the greens in the room. Here is a fun side table in burled walnut, and then this super fun kind of mushroom little trinket. So here I found this old desk at an estate sale here in Dallas. It's one of my first purchases, as I started wanting to get into design and furniture. Also, I have an antique mirror that was given to me by my mom. I've had for years. So welcome to my primary suite. Wanted to make this room soothing but colorful. A way to do that was kind of a play on patterns. You have a striped, blue rug here mixed with a beautiful fabric from Zack & Fox, but it's very heavy and printy. Going back to the bed, the bedding is also playful, adding colors. There's a lot of things going on. My idea for this room is to make it soothing, even having bold patterns, bringing in some vintage side tables, bringing in kind of light colors with the fabrics, setting the overall, calming environment for when I'm ready to go to sleep. So behind me, I have a piece of art I found at a vintage shop. I love landscapes. It kind of reminds me of, something I would see in Tuscany, which again is one of my favorite spots. all over the windows, I have Roman shades and drapery. I found a really pretty linen fabric that has some light stripes in it to create, you know, some movement, which is actually a holly hunt fabric. It has kind of a brown red tint to it. So one thing I like is off my bedroom, I have a patio with actually the tile from the pool to kind of, you know, connect the two spaces, and it's nice for in the morning when it's nice out, I can have a cup of coffee. So this is gonna be my bathroom. It's one of the coolest rooms, I think. Found this marble also on a sourcing trip to Italy. Found it before I began construction on the house. It is a Calicut Rosa. Super unique. It has some beiges, some pinks, some grays. A way to kind of soften this marble is to, you know, create plaster in a color that, you know, subdues the marble a little bit because it is very loud and busy. So the whole bathroom, I wanted to create a wainscot out of the marble. So here you can see, you know, slabs with details around each one, which makes it really beautiful, you know, elegant, timeless, you know, something you would see in Europe. So here I have, you know, a freestanding tub. I wanted to do a matte finish. Curves, you know, against the hard, you know, the hard lines in the room really makes it soft and inviting. The fixture is also unlacquered brass, which gives it an antique feel. This painting here, I also found at Round Top from Innaby Home in Nashville, and it's fun, dark, dramatic, good, you know, juxtaposition against the walls. Here we have the bistro curtains on the windows, which kind of, you know, I still wanted light in this room, but needed some privacy. Found this stool also in Round Top by Amelia Tarbett, who's very, very cool stuff. It's like retro. It has an off orange color, which also is pulled from the slab. So this is gonna be my shower, which is super fun. I've actually picked a pink subway tile from Ann Sachs. I wanted to explore bringing in some pink to this bathroom without making it feminine, you know, keeping it neutral. Again, I have continued the marble wainscot around the whole shower as well as a marble slab on the floor. A fun way to do a shower door instead of frameless glass, I did, you know, a brass door out of pivot, you know, really something unique, you know, creating a small detail. So the fixtures in the shower are also unlacquered brass from the same Moroccan company. Very fun, antique, spa-like. Actually in the ceiling in the shower, there is a skylight, which is a cool way to bring in light. So here we're gonna walk into my closet, which is an extension of my bathroom. Wanted to create, you know, kind of a small store feel. The chandelier I chose in here it's a leathered chandelier. It's a fun texture to bring in. I don't have much leather in this house, but the color was really nice against this wall color, which is called Dead Salmon, which is a very funny wall color, but it is one of my favorites. You know, obviously I wanted to design this closet to be very pretty, but it needed to have function. I loved adding all built-in drawers that you can hide. You know, each drawer has a specific purpose. Walking in, you can see the shoes on the wall from back there. You know, each door I have specific types of clothes, so it's a really good way to organize. Good way to kind of elevate a closet is to add LED lighting inside the cabinet. So behind each, you know, panel, I have LED strips that kind of illuminates the clothes. So this is gonna be my laundry room. Wanted to make it fun, have, you know, playful. A lot of people kind of overlook laundry rooms. So wallpaper, you know, make it super busy and, you know, colorful. It's a wallpaper from Schumacher. Floor is a tile by Zia, white and red stripes. It kind of shows some personality to a room that usually is not paid attention to. Home means a safe haven. You know, when I walk in the door, I want to feel at peace. I can be a homebody at times, so, you know, having a relaxing environment really helps me so I can focus during the day because I am in construction all day. Can be a ruthless job, and coming home to something that's peaceful is very important to me.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.